Alexis, a consultant here at Valiantys. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use CSV imports to perform bulk updates in Jira. If you ever use the bulk update feature in the issue search filter, you'll know how it works. You can perform actions such as edit issues, transition issues, delete, you can start or stop watching issues, but you know the limitations that occur with that. So you can't bulk transition issues across different workflows unless they all support the same transition path. You can't modify a group of tickets and in the same action have one set of issues, set one field for a certain field, and then in the same action do the same with a different option. Jira is going to force you to set the same value for all of those tickets. Therefore, when it comes to stuff, even if they're so little and minor, you have to break them up into different batches. So what else can you do? There is the automation for Jira, so that does give you more control with using JQL, with lookup tickets, and then using branching logic with whether you decide to use lookup tables, if you want to add conditions to then edit more than one field to have that branching logic. But using that, while it can be helpful and it can be quick, it can get complex very quickly, and it's not going to be practical for large updates. When it comes to those lookup issues, it can only look up for automation 999 issues, so once you get past that, you're not going to be able to perform any larger on that, and your automation is going to fail. So that is where the CSV importer becomes a great option. Whether you're working in Jira Software, Jira Service Management, the importer is going to give you a flexible and reliable way to create or update issues at scale. So there are two ways that you can import via CSV. So first we have the project level importer. This is going to be available to project admins for the project that they are in, and this works in both team managed and company managed Jira Software projects. Note that the project level importer is not available in Jira Service Management. So this is going to allow you to create issues, update issues, but again, this still has its limitations. So you're not going to be able to import things like comments, attachments, or update complex fields. It's going to be useful for those quick jobs, but it's not going to be ideal when you need full control. In this video, we're going to focus on the global CSV importer, which again, it's going to look the same as the project level. It just gives us the ability to have entirely full control. And we're able to have full control because in order to use a global import, you need to have Jira administration permissions, so without this, you won't be able to perform it. With the global import, we can create or update issues across multiple projects, not just one specific per project. We're going to be able to import and update fields such as transitions, date fields, request type, we can add comments, and we can even change the issue type. With the global, we can also map complex fields, so those include custom fields, multi-select, user mapping fields, cascading fields. All of those we can map all in the same import. And you can do more than just one action at a time. Before we jump into the demo, there is one thing I want to call out about user mapping like I just mentioned. So if you are trying to update fields or import that you have a user picker such as an assignee or a porter, Jira is going to ask you to map that. It's going to say, hey, I'm going to try and look for the email address or a username that matches what's currently in that file. So if you're taking an export and importing from data center, this is going to be tricky because data center goes based off of usernames, where when it comes to cloud, it's looking more or less on the email address or the regular name. So if those don't line up, it can get a little tricky when you're trying to import those if it doesn't match your Jira Cloud accounts. To avoid these problems, you're going to want to make sure that you're using valid Jira Cloud email addresses in your CSV, and you're going to make sure that you review your Jira users mapping suggestions carefully during the import process. If Jira can't match that user, it's going to default to using your own account, which is going to be the person who is performing the import for that field. Or sometimes it'll come in as anonymous, but don't forget, you can always leave the user field blank on the first pass. You don't have to put in that stuff if you're not entirely sure. You can always go back and update them in a second import once everything else looks good. And one last additional disclaimer before we get started. I strongly recommend that when you're using import, especially if you're doing it for the very first time, test it with a small batch of issues first. This is going to let you confirm your mappings, your field formats, and that the values are working the way that you expect and intend. It's easier to fix 5 issues than to clean up about 500 issues, so always recommend start small. Now that you've got the overview, let's walk through how to use a global CSV importer to perform common bulk updates across Jira Service Management. So in order to demo this, need some tickets obviously. So I've gone ahead and I've created a few demo tickets. In the summaries of each of them, I've listed the action that we're going to perform, and in the description, it's listed what the original content of that field was. So that way we'll be able to check it and we can know not only from the description, but we can look in the history of the ticket to see the changes that occurred. That way we can make sure that all of it has been accounted for. So we're only looking at this in the queue right now, so unfortunately I can't export tickets from here. So let's go ahead and go to the filter view and let's go to search the work items and let's go export these tickets. I'm going to use the basic JQL, that way I can easily just get the tickets that I want. So I know that they are in the tech support project, and all these test tickets I created today, so instead of the last 30 days, I'm just going to do the last day. And now I'm going to have my tickets that I created today. So in order to export these, all I have to do is click on this export dropdown, and you're going to see here there is a lot of options here. So you could do with Excel, XLSX, you can do Word, HTML. When it comes to these for updating, what we're going to want is you can do the export CSV. Now there are 2 options. You have the all fields and the my defaults. My defaults are going to be the field columns that you see on your export right here. So they're not going to contain every field. So if you only wanted very specific fields, you could put those in your my default section and then export that. However, note that fields such as comments can't be in that. So if you're looking to import comments from a ticket, you're going to need to utilize the all fields option, in which the all field is going to give you all, exactly what it says. It's going to give you all fields, so all the custom fields that are in your system. Whether or not the ticket has a data entry on it or not, it'll throw it on there. So, and we'll go through that when you export this with all fields, we just clean up the file. So with that, we're going to go ahead and do export CSV all fields. And once this is done, what we're going to do is we are going to open the file. I'm going to go through and I'm going to remove all the fields that I do not need. I'm just going to leave the ones that I'm going to modify. Now I have my file cleaned up. So the fields that we need to leave by default is we need the issue key and the summary. So for the issue key, we need to keep that because the importer needs to look to find what ticket we're trying to map to. So if there's an existing issue key, then it knows to go directly to that. The reason you have to keep summary on here when you're updating an issue is because every ticket needs a summary. So even if it is finding a matching ticket, it still has to have the summary. This does allow you to also change the summary of it when you do this import, so just note that it's going to put it whatever is there. So if you leave it the same, it'll stay. Other than that, the fields I left were status, priority, reporter, created, due date, description, and comment. Okay, now let's go ahead and let's make the changes. So in here, I have update priority field. So originally it was medium, so we're going to set this to low. Update the due date, so originally this due date is set for August 31st. Note that when it comes to any type of date field, you do have the ability to modify it on an import, but we do have to match the proper date format. So on any of your date fields, you're going to highlight those columns, right click and hit format cells. I'm going to go to custom, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to paste in my format that I'm going to use for the date. Note that you're going to want to keep this on your clipboard handy because when we do the import on the Jira side, we're going to have to input this same value. But it needs to know from the import the format that the date and time is coming in, and then it just needs to make sure that Jira will match that. So we're going to go ahead and make sure those are formatted. And now I'm going to go ahead and change the due date. So since the due date was August 31st, I'm going to change the due date on this one. And let's say it is October 31st is what I'm going to put it at. So on this one, now we're going to go to transition and issue. So on the transition, we're going to take this and it's in waiting for support. We know that this one has a direct route to a status called in progress. So we're going to say this is for in progress. And now lastly we have this one says modify a few fields. So this one, the priority originally was high, but I did forget to set that. So we're actually going to go ahead and set that to high. And the original reporter was myself, which it is. So what I'm going to do is map the reporter to a new person. And in order for this to work, I have to put in the email address of the person I'm going to map this to. So I'm going to set this on behalf of Billy Mallard. And I'm also going to change the create date. So this was originally created on August 4th, and I'm going to say this was actually created on June 4th. So even though in the reporter, the one we're going to change, we put in this email address, we still have to change the other one since we are modifying just one of them. By default, the importer does not know, even though when we export the information, it comes back as my display name, it will not take my display name as the reporter. So when we're coming back, we have to at least set that since we're only changing one of them. So I'm going to go ahead and put back my email address, and I will attach that for the rest. So now we won't get a user error of cannot create user because we are in fact telling it the proper user. The only error that we're going to get back is from this comment. Usually when it's exported, it formats it with the date and time that it was left and then the author. At this point, we're just saying that it came from the import. Therefore, it's going to come in as the person who's importing it, but we could format to set it as a certain user to do it. So when you're coming from DC to import, you're already going to have that structure there, so you can keep it there. We have all of our data situated. Let's go ahead and let's import it. So once you hit save, what we're going to do is we're going to come into our importer. So we're going back to Jira, and since it's in the Jira Administration Center, we're going to click on System under Jira Admin Settings. And then here, we're going to go to the Import and Export, and we're going to click on External System Import. Right now, you're going to see two areas. You're going to see the disclaimer that says the new import experience, and then you're going to see in that disclaimer switch to the old experience. Right now, the new import experience, it only allows you to create new tickets and insert them in a brand new project. You do not get the ability to create tickets and put them in an existing project or even update tickets. It's going to be for solely taking and creating tickets in a brand new project. So if you're just looking to update existing tickets or create them inside an existing project, just click on switch to the old experience. And now we can select our proper formatting of our file, which is a CSV. So what we're going to do is we're going to upload our CSV source file. So we're going to choose File and upload that. Note that below it you do see something that says Use an existing configuration file. On the next screen, you're going to see that when we import these, we have to map the column from the Excel file to the Jira field. When doing this, you can actually save that mapping. So if you're doing this in bulk with the same fields over and over again, you can save it. That way you don't have to continuously click through and match. It'll just automatically do. And when you're doing these, if any of them that you mapped happen to not be in that field or in that file, it'll actually just ignore it, but it does keep it there. So it makes it very easy to be able to continue to bulk upload. So we'll click Next. And now we're going to set our project and the date format. So our project is the tech support project. And then our date format, we're going to copy and paste the formatting that we did. And that's going to be the date, month, year, hour, and minutes. And then we will hit Next. We're not going to fill out the email subjects for new users since we're not creating any new users with this. And now we're just going to go ahead and we're going to map our fields. The comment body the comment goes under comment body, and then so on and so forth. And remember that they did rename issue key is now work item key, or issue is also just called work item. So we have to make sure on the import that we do map it to the appropriate term. Once we make sure we have all of our fields, we have our comment body, our date, description, due date, all that looks good, we're going to go ahead and hit Next. And now, always it's going to make you do the map field value for the statuses. This is really helpful when on the field you have ones that should just be all the same, where it'll just list each value from the file, and then you can just manually select. Or just making sure they spelled it right. Let's say on the file that you put in progress with a lowercase b, it allows you to also make sure that you match it exactly. So in this case, it sees that in progress was a status in Jira. It sees waiting for support is also an exact match, so it'll automatically throw those there. So I know those are good. I don't have to touch them. And when it comes to these comments on the import, note that it doesn't know if the comment was originally made as an internal comment or a customer-facing comment, so by default, Jira Importer will just push these out as public comments. However, you can't actually begin your import without acknowledging that, as it wants you to know and say, hey, I hope you don't have any confidential information in these, because all of these are going to be made visible to the customer. So we're just going to hit continue public access and acknowledge the fact that we are aware that all of these comments will be made public. So now that we can do that, we can actually click begin import. So we'll go ahead and we'll begin the import. So it's going to go ahead and process those, and you'll even get the little validation up top here as it goes. So I did mention that we would get that one error that said that the commenter name was not found, so it's going to make it on behalf of myself. This link right here, Save Configuration, this is where you can click that and you'll be able to download that automatic mapping for future use. And then if we click on this detail log, you'll actually be able to see what it did. So we can see here, while it didn't create 5 work items that it found, it did update those successfully, and it also detected which tickets those were. So now that we have the import, let's go see them. So we're just going to go back to our filter search and notice that originally we had 5 tickets. Now we only have 4. So we have created within the last day, we have 4 of them. One of them we changed the created date to June 4th. That is why this one we won't see. So if we come back and we say created in the last, and let's say the last 180 days. If we do that, we are actually going to then see that ticket here. So we see TS23, which was modifying a list of fields. So if we come on history, we're going to see here that the priority was changed, that the description was changed, so we also took out some of the information there. It did in fact update the reporter, and we can see here created June 4th. And we can check out some of these other ones. So if we put this back to within the last day, we can verify here. So the add a comment, if we go to this ticket, we are going to see here that that comment did get left on behalf of myself. If we go back and look more, so we have this one where we updated the due date. So if we come into the ticket, originally we saw that it was 8/31, and we had changed it to 10/31. On this one, we had it set to update the priority field. So if we come in, originally the priority was set to medium, and we had set that now to low. And finally, for the one that we transitioned, if we look, it shows it's in progress, and if we check in with our history, it's going to tell us that it originally was in waiting for support. So all of the actions that we made here, those ones did come over. When you do the description, you change it, it does come out a little funky, but note that what you see right here, it's just not what can be placed there, it's just how the context was placed into that. Other than that, we successfully updated using the CSV importer with Jira. And with that, that wraps up our walkthrough of how to use the CSV importer to perform bulk updates in Jira. As you saw, this method does give you a lot of flexibility compared to the standard bulk actions with the issue search filter or with automation for Jira. Especially when you're dealing with different workflows, multiple field updates, it just makes it very easy to combine actions and do it all at once, along with being able to execute on more. When it comes to CSV importer, I recommend giving it no more than 5,000 issues, but you can give it a little more. Just note that the more issues you give it, the longer it takes. Usually if you give it about, I'd say 1,500, it could take about, 20 minutes. It all depends on the amount of data you're also throwing in it, so definitely just keep that in mind. And hopefully this gave you a clear understanding of how to get started with the CSV importer and be able to really use it to its full potential. Thanks for watching.